Monitoring stress with NSDR method is a revolutionary technique that helps you overcome stress by using specific strategies and exercises.
So these very unusual brain states are potentially hazardous if people can't return from them.
This video focuses on how the brain and body are connected when it comes to stress and emotions. It talks about the history of stress, emphasizing that it's always been a part of human life. Always.
Yeah, so non-sleep deep rest, NSDR, is an acronym that I coined because it encompasses a lot of practices that are not meditation per se.
The video provides insights into how the body responds immediately to stress, with specific brain cells being activated and physical changes taking place.
I don't have any problem with buffering cortisol a little bit in the short term, so doing that for a week or two, but I wouldn't suggest that people suppress their cortisol long term unless there's a real clinical need to do that. Long term being longer than 2 weeks.
The video also discusses the power of breath control techniques in managing stress. It explains how deep inhalations and long exhalations can have very, very positive effects on the body. Additionally, it explores the concept of the physiological sigh and how it can quickly reduce stress levels.
NSDR is immensely powerful. It's zero cost. And one of the reasons I'm such a fan of people doing it is that most people don't stick to a meditation practice. There have also been a few cases, you might find this interesting. There's a book by Scott Carney. I forget what it's called. I think it's called The Transcendence Trap or something. I'm going to have that title wrong.
The importance of nasal breathing is highlighted for various reasons, including its positive impact on facial appearance and preventing infections. Huberman also delves into the negative effects of long-term chronic stress on the brain and the body.
The practice that for me has really helped reduce stress and allowed me to fall asleep more easily and control my state of mind late in the evening is this practice that some people call yoga nidra, which literally means yoga sleep. And that practice of taking 20 or 30 minutes a day, and it doesn't have to be done every day.
It discusses how chronic stress can affect memory, contribute to conditions like Alzheimer's disease, schizophrenia, and addiction. Dr. Huberman emphasizes the significance of social connections and feeling connected to others and mitigating the negative effect of chronic stress.
And so the other thing that we know is extremely powerful for neuroplasticity to build up this capacity for focus and work is, or neuroplasticity of any kind, is what's called non-sleep deep rest. I call it NSDR, to just distinguish it from meditation and other things.
It mentions that the stress hormone cortisol can suppress melatonin, which affects your sleep. He advises against high-dose melatonin supplements.
And really allowing the mind to enter one of these pseudo-sleep states. We know from work in my laboratory and work that I'm doing with David Spiegel's laboratory, as well as work from other labs, that that state of shallow nap or shallow sleep done in waking allows the brain to, and the person, to get better at turning off their thoughts and falling asleep in the evening.
The video briefly mentions supplements like theanine and ashwagandha, highlighting their potential benefits in promoting relaxation and reducing anxiety. This interesting talk about how stress affects the way our body handles cholesterol, emphasizing our need to keep our cholesterol levels in balance.
One thing that I'm a big proponent of and that my lab has been studying is what I now call NSDR, non-sleep deep rest. And this is just lying down. There are some scripts that we're going to put out there soon as a free resource. There's some hypnosis scripts that my colleague David Spiegel has put out there as a free resource. But non-sleep deep rest is allowing your system to drop into states of real calm that allow you to get better at falling asleep later. And they can be very restorative for cognitive and motor function. There's at least one study out of Denmark that shows that the basal ganglia, which is an area of the brain that's involved in motor planning and action, one of these 20-minute non-sleep deep rest protocols resets levels of neuromodulators like dopamine in the basal ganglia to the same levels that they were right after a long night's sleep. So I also respectfully or semi-respectfully disagree with the idea that you can't recover lost sleep. What does that mean? I mean, that there's no IRS for sleep. So what does it mean to be in debt for sleep? If you're falling asleep during the day and you're sleepy, like you're falling asleep, that's a good sign of insomnia. It means you're not sleeping enough at night. There are 2 papers that were published in the last 2 years from Cell Reports and Cell Press Journal, excellent journal, showing that a 20-minute non-sleep deep rest protocol after a bout of intense focus or intense attempt to learn anything, skill learning or cognitive learning, accelerates plasticity by about 50%. So you are learning faster, much faster, and retention of that information lasts much longer. And that's because these are sleep-like states. And we know that neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change in response to experience, is triggered by high focus, by deliberate periods of very high focus. But the actual rewiring of neurons, the formation of new synapses and the reordering of the circuitry that leads to that skill or that cognitive ability becoming reflexive, that happens in states of deep rest. And non-sleep deep rest, NSDR, whether it's hypnosis or yoga nidra or a shallow nap of about 20, 30 minutes, those things will all accelerate learning. Yeah, so non-sleep deep rest, NSDR, is an acronym that I coined because it encompasses a lot of practices that are not meditation per se, but that bring the brain and body into a state of relaxation and focus. So hypnosis is one variant of NSDR. There are other variants of NSDR. You can just look these up and you'll find them. And I think that they've caught on, and that the CEO of Google is an avid practitioner of NSDR, because it has this amazing ability to reset your energy levels and focus. Whereas with meditation, many people find meditation hard. And part of the reason they find it hard is that it requires focus. NSDR is a state which is very calm and relaxing. You don't have to work too hard. You're just listening to a script. Whereas most forms of meditation, not all, but most forms of meditation involve cranking up the activity in your prefrontal cortex and trying to see your thoughts as opposed to thinking your thoughts, or focus on your breath, but then third personing yourself in some respect. And that's work. And so many people who meditate quite intensely feel more exhausted. Now, that doesn't mean that meditation doesn't have any utility, but it's distinctly different than NSDR. And I think that people are working, certainly the CEO of Google, I have to imagine, is working very hard and using his forebrain. If he's going to have 20 or 30 minutes to take a break, he should, and I think this is what he's doing, he should go out for a jog and not listen to anything and just kind of let his mind wander, or sit there in a chair and just zone out, or do NSDR. The problem is people are not that good at shifting states. We are all actually pretty good at, even people with severe ADHD, we did an episode about this, can become hyper-focused on things that they actually enjoy. But those periods of deep rest allow you to consolidate the material much more quickly and more deeply. And then you mentioned that there's sometimes also a period in the afternoon. So definitely nourish, take care of your email, take care of your social connections. These are important things to be able to continue to do work. NSDR is terrific at allowing people to learn to shift their state. And I actually would venture to argue that part of the value of meditation and exercise is the actual state that you get into in deep meditation or exercise. But just as valuable is the transition that you have to take yourself through from one state of mind to the other and then back again. When I look, David Goggins, he always seems to come up, but because he represents so many important things: drive, determination, override of emotional state, going from being a 300-pound plus person to a fit person through. He's never revealed anything substantial about what he ate or what he didn't eat. He basically says, like, listen, run a lot, eat less, right? Yeah. But what's remarkable is so much of what he says is about those transitions, about taking oneself from a state of, I don't want to scruffing oneself and like you're going to do it anyway. And then being able to carry that into regular life, so to speak. But I know at least one person who came back from one of these long extended meditation retreats and wasn't able to shift their state back into one that was functional in regular life. And that book includes a very dramatic story. I don't want to give it away in case people check out the book, but Scott told the story to me directly once, where someone feels they've reached enlightenment, and then so these very unusual brain states are potentially hazardous if people can't return from them. Unless you're sleep deprived, you're going to stay out of REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. If you're sleep deprived, you'll drop right into it. If you've ever traveled and you're really jet lagged, you go to the hotel, you lay down for 1 second, all of a sudden you're just like, you're in a psychedelic dream, which can be pretty great too.